dropping?
Yes, I'm getting that bimbofication in.
I grew up in the other valley. I grew up in Pasadena back when my folks had money.
Yeah.
Didn't last through the Reagan 80s, but what are you going to do? And we always used to make fun of the San Fernando Valley because of the accent and because it just seemed lowbrow out there.
That was like the Valley Girl face?
Yes, the Valley Girl.
That's the Valley.
That's the San Fernando Valley. And now I live there. So begrudgingly, I love this valley now, but it took me a while.
You had your judgments.
I did. I lived in Hollywood for 6 years, and I loved Hollywood, but man, you gotta learn to find the sound of helicopters soothing at night, or you will never sleep.
That's something. But it sounds like you were always a city boy, or at least always a SoCal.
Yeah, I was born here. I grew up here. I spent some time in boarding school in St. Louis. Actually,
that's why you're so kinky. The boarding school explains it all.
Yeah, I went to boarding school. It was an experience. I enjoyed it very much, but it's tricky to enjoy boarding school.
Yeah, you gotta find your fun.
My parents spent a lot of money on my education, and now I do more.
You're welcome, Mom and Dad.
Thanks, guys. I
We're
know where to put the
people.
apostrophe in my tweets, so thanks.
Yeah, you're like, you actually still utilize proper grammar in your texts. That's good enough.
But it gave me, I think it gave me the foundation and the basis to be the good person that I could do porn well. Not just skillfully, but ethically.
Absolutely, and that's a whole other breed of performer.
And before you go trying to find them, my parents know for what I do for a living, and they're fine with it, so fuck off.
Good for you.
I told they split up a while ago. I told my dad, though, and I'm like, specifically, here's the website you should not go to, Dad. I'm just telling you about it. He's a boomer, so immediately went to that website. Like, oh my God, I saw my son's penis. I'm like, Dad!
My son's dick was like
told you.
skull fucking a young woman. Yeah, Dad. Well, he needed to see it so that his imagination didn't let it like.
I think he was just curious. He wanted to see the boobs and forgot that I'd be there too.
I mean, I won't name drop, but you know who you are. One of my brothers made it known to me. After he became an adult of legal age. I'll just preface that. One of my brothers did let me know that he actively went out of his way to look up anything I had out at that point for research purposes, and so that he wouldn't be caught off guard if anything popped. And I'm like, I'm okay. Like,
be grown-ups about this.
I have such cool siblings though that anything like that was received. I'm just like, that's great communication. I'm happy that you're able to wrap your head around this, because it means he or any of my other siblings for that matter are not giving me any grief. They understand this is my art form. They're not embarrassed about it. They actually support me, so I'm really blessed.
That's awesome.
In that regard too. Yep.
Alright, the clouds are breaking, the shades are on. Now I'm cool.
Mr. Cool Guy. Too cool for school. And I completely forgot to pack any, so I'm glad that your car is nicely tinted, because wait. Run an extra pair, his and hers.
I'm polarized, so you won't be able to see the screen.
I do. I think I look pretty fly. I can't see, but I think I look pretty bitchin'. Yeah, so I'm NorCal born and raised, but I travel for work because there's not a lot to be had, where I'm hanging out. So it's fun. Any excuse I can get to come to Los Angeles and build my network of like worthwhile and ethical fellow performers. That's where it's at. And I've never been represented by an agent or agency. I've always got to choose my own work. I get to be so selective and handpick.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So you make the cut.
Well, I'm flattered and honored. I'll do my best to make you not regret that. And more than that, even now, it's like my guiding principle is get invited back. My guiding principle is by the end of this day, Dresden will be willing to work with me again.
That's wonderful.
And I've told models before, especially models I've never worked with, I'm like, you're here, I am going to pay your day rate. And if you turn around and leave in 30 minutes because you don't like what's going on, you still get the day rate and my apology. And
oh my goodness.
That's all.
Tim, you're such a true
I will
heart.
lose all of my money and get no content before I'll risk you having a bad day on my set.
Well, it's amazing that there's at least one director out there operating with such a business platform.
I feel like there's more than one, but God, I didn't realize it was so rare, because it's what I not grew up with, but what I porno grew up with.
And the difference between like a mainstream porn director versus like a private studio fetish, because again, the lifestyler element, you brought your real life experience over into the business
I was
aspect.
trained by lifestylers. My rigging is so good because of that.
I was also trained by
Consent and
lifestyle.
awareness and all that comes from people who do this and have shared their knowledge.
And in that way, you are a good guru for any other mainstream models that are interested in crossing over. you would be the one, like, that should be the not gatekeeper as in, like, you're not going to let them through, but, you know, like, welcome. You should be, like, one of the ones to let them in their initial foray, because there's other people out there claiming, like, BDSM and, you know, like, proper procedure, but not always.
Not always.
Sometimes that's too much to ask for. But if you're a lifestyler, you get it, because you also don't want to be fucking up and let the people who trained you down.
Right.
You know, they will hear about it.
Yeah.
And you reflect on them.
You want to be proud of your work. And yeah, especially in the lifestyle, it's always about get invited back, because the person doesn't have to play with it. There's no money changing hands.
No,
if they don't like you, they won't play with you.
It's very much your community, so
word gets around.
You don't want to be shunned or exiled from the community. It's
people don't understand good is just evil with practical knowledge.
Oh yeah, good.
I
is
like
just
to think
evil,
I'm enlightenedly selfish. Enlightenedly?
That's a great word too.
Wisely selfish. Like I'm in this for me, but I know what gives me pleasure, and it's knowing that I did a good job and didn't hurt anybody and didn't upset anybody.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That makes me feel good. A big part of our job, especially for custom requests, but really anytime somebody hires us, I imagine you do this too, is you do your best to get into their head, whether it's an email or a director, and you listen to the tone and you catch the keywords that they don't realize they're emphasizing.
The subtleties.
Until you know what turns them on, and then you put yourself in the mindset that turns you on too.
Oh yeah, the empathy levels are like through the roof.
Like technically, I don't have a I don't mind feet. I don't have a foot fetish. But if it's a foot fetish video in my head, I have a foot fetish, and I will adore that fucking toe like it's a clit, and I'll go to town on it.
And you can find like the
I did a hair sniffing video. I'm like, well, I love hair sniffing now, and
you're like,
that day I sure did.
It's just one more like level of perversion that you can add. Now it's funny you mentioned the foot fetish, because like I think I actually developed a foot fetish from maintaining that mindset of like, you know, if I got booked professionally to do a foot scene, then you got to wrap your head around it somehow, or just the custom requests I get. I'm like, yeah, my feet are pretty sexy, and I also like jerking people off with them, and I like other women's feet, and it's like I never would have.
Now this is a thing.
Yeah, but certainly there are others where it's like I can be in that mindset for the purpose of the shoot, but then at the end of the day, it's like that's really not my cup of tea.
As long as you don't actively dislike it, I don't think it's even disingenuous. You're hiring me to act. I will act this role.
Yeah. No, it's just I mean, I'm trying to think of like some other. I got a request for another studio to do like just literally like eating cheese like to the point where it's like bulging, you know, like like just it's not inherently sexual, but I knew for this guy that commissioned it, like he would be jerking up to it. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there like stuffing my face with cheese, and I'm like, this isn't gonna go anywhere for me. This is where this ends. I'll probably never do anything like this again in my life, and I'll be just fine.
I've shot things that I will, now I know I'm not gonna do that again. This is something I did an education panel just the other day.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, I volunteer for the Center for Positive Sexuality.
Yeah.
And, one of the questions, I don't remember exactly what the question was, just like any last advice for the students, I guess. And I felt strongly because of the other questions that day, it's important, especially for young people, to realize you can have a bad experience and it doesn't have to shape you. Like you could try a food you don't like and chew it and swallow it and go, well, I'm never going to eat that again.
And, like survive.
But it's not a trauma. And you can have a sexual experience that you don't like. I'm not speaking didn't consent to, but I'm like, I tried this thing. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the end of the world.
It just because it didn't stimulate you, or also, let's say you and your partner tried it and it didn't lead to like a finish, if you will. Doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you're bad or wrong or suck, you know, at sex. It just means like
that wasn't the right. All right,
we're gonna catalog that as like not interested, and you know, you're right. Don't let that discourage you, or don't let it traumatize you.
I love the comedian, the Scottish guy whose name I'm constantly forgetting. He used to have a night show, and he was talking about preachers that protest too much against gay. I'm like, are you sure you're not gay? Before you go on this, just try some gay things and throw some accent pillows.
What did I just say? Like, don't knock it till you try it.
Suck a dick or two, and if you don't like it, what's the harm? And like,
suck a dick or something.
That's amazingly profound. I mean, it's a funny joke, but it's also profound.
Hey man, don't knock it till you try it. To a certain degree, has been my motto too, especially when it comes to my sexuality. Like, I want to explore it all, and I want to find out what I don't like through firsthand experience.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, I don't like that. Fine.
Now I know.
I've been in 3 ways where there was only one girl. Like I've had sex with, in that way, I've had sex with a guy. And I'm like, okay, you're not turning me on, but you're not turning me off.
Yeah, you're like, actually, if anything, the sexual like energy is mounting and
I love being,
snowballing.
especially with someone I care about. But either way, like being on one end of a sandwich like that and getting to watch porn that you're involved in. Like I'm observing a sexual act that I'm also participating. That's like, whoa!
That is so. Any kind of group play is so pornographic.
Oh my God.
And the sexual energy can just be like contagious too. That's the nice thing about that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It doesn't mean. That's the open-mindedness too. Just because another like person with a penis was like involved in your guys' sex, you're not gay or not. You know, like
it's a thing that happened. You don't got to categorize it.
And I know that most guys love that shit. Like most guys are gonna take me up on that offer. You know, if I'm like, hey, you can fuck me, but like this buddy of mine, they're like, down. You
actually have less work to do at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
It's when it's the
person in the middle has more to concentrate on.
I find that it's the girl boy, you know, boy girl, like female male, that is like way more complicated and harder to navigate, and it's not my preference. I'd rather get Eiffel Towered any day.
Eiffel Tower.
Just putting it out there, Tim. If you got a friend. It's fun, and I like that it's, look, the people I'm rolling with, like the people that I'm like partnered up with in my real life or I'm working with professionally, I want them to have that mindset of open-minded. Like, let's dabble, let's see if this leads to anything. Otherwise, how boring. Like, I've ended relationships because just too boring, or too many walls, you know, that they've implemented before we even had a chance. That's such a waste of time.
Yeah, let's don't put limits where we don't need to put limits.
No, I have very minimal patience for closed-mindedness, especially when it comes to sexuality.
Absolutely.
And exploring.
I don't have to like everything, but I'm certainly gonna not like run screaming from anything I don't have
Because
to.
then you're right, I am going to be suspicious, like, the lady doth protest too much.
Yeah.
Maybe you are a big flaming gay, like, if you're spending all your
before
time.
you make that decision.
Right.
All right, we're rolling up on the evil lair.
Ooh, it looks cool. Tim's got Halloween decorations because we're recording this
It's
in
that
October.
time.
Hence my
It's that time.
spooky. Okay, any last final thoughts?
We're gonna make some music later, and that's gonna be bitchin'.
We're gonna
Have
kill
so
it.
much fun.
I told Tim we're gonna jam, and then we're gonna jam.
If we're not completely worn out, we'll do a little bit of conversation on our way back. Although it'll be dark then, so it might not work. So if this is it, I hope you guys had fun.
I did.
We'll do this again.
See you on the other side.